we're here to make our presentation in support of the case competition. We represent Dole Packaged Food with a central area in the Canada region. And we've subtitled this presentation, Sustainable Innovation in Canada, Transforming Waste for Global Value. Next slide. I'd like to introduce the team. My name is Emmanuel. I'll be your upcycling project program manager today, and we'll meet some other members of the team as they make their presentation. Next slide. A little bit on our content, what we'll be sharing today. Talk about our challenges, the solutions too we'll be recommending, and also a little bit on the strategy side. Next slide. Just to give a summary on what we'll be talking about today, we have come up with a structured approach towards solving one of the global problems facing the perishable food distribution industry. And we've come up with our own product name, the project MapleGuard, which is a combination of both strategy and technical innovation towards solving the problem. And we hope to use Project MapleGuard to solve 60% of the waste and create a scalable, sustainable solution towards meeting our 2025 and 2030 development goals. Next slide. The challenge is simply around redundant and obsolete inventory, and also long lead time, which result in wastage across the entire supply chain. Dole needs innovative solutions to help minimize this waste, to improve its inventory, and also to repurpose some of this inevitable wastage. Next slide. And this just gives us an overview of where some of this waste comes from. This will be the central point of our presentation today, concentrating around the retail areas of about 17%, but in total is what we'll be talking about. Next slide. And so our solution, like earlier mentioned, is broken down into two sections, the technical solution and the strategic, where we'll talk about upcycling, biodegradable modified film, vibration dampening technology, and a little bit on the smart incentive aspect, while also maximizing our demand forecasting and also inventory management. And these solutions cater for this sustainable development goals listed below, one of which is the Zero Hunger initiative, which we are quite passionate about. Next slide. And so we're talking about first upcycling, where we plan to recreate obsolete inventory and creating value out of it, creating both profitability and also reducing some of the challenges that we earlier mentioned. We've itemized some key product lines that we hope Dole will take as initiative towards entering into the market and also establishing their footprint. The kombucha is one of it, which is a fruit sweetened kombucha, which is a mix of tropical and exotic flavors. We also recommended fermented alternative as well as power energy gel for those in the fitness space. That's just a mock-up of what already exists in the market and what we hope to achieve once this recommendation is implemented. This will hit the shelf. This will be in every household and every family store. Next slide. And also on market analysis, we are quite aware that for any new initiative, there is bound to be some challenges, but we are here to prove that the pros far outweigh the cons, because this is a strategic investment for sustainable impact. And we know that issues like high investment costs and also operational complexity will easily be handled with this solution. Why? Because we'll be able to use fruit waste to serve as raw material and also reduce overall costs while being impactful. Next slide. As we look at the financial aspects, we've been able to itemize the upcycling market with a special interest around the Canadian market. Firstly, 78% consumers in the US market consume 78% more kombucha than any other part of North America. So we're using US as a reference point towards addressing Canada. And we noticed that Canada has a revenue of about $188.9 million with a growth, which is going to grow to about 673, so almost triple that number by the year 2030. So we hopefully want to advise Dole to tap into this market and be able to use this initiative for better impact. With a compound average growth rate of about 15.2%, we know that a major factor for this upcycling initiative will be boosted by our distribution channel, which already exists within Dole, and also the availability of our retail route and also our relationship with our partners. It is very, very profitable because the US currently has an import number very high, but a low export number. That means localized production of this initiative is already taking place amongst nations. And there's no reason why a key player in the industry will not tap into this initiative to cover both import and export. Total profit is looking good. Profit margins at about 4.5%. Next slide. And also a cost breakdown. We've already also taken time to look at the cost breakdown from raw materials to the fermentation to packaging to distribution. We know we'll be able to meet up with the total cost of, which is better than market value of about $2.60 to $4 per liter, which is bigger than the average 450 liter. We will be able to target a 5 to 10% market share for initial starters to gain revenue of about 16.63 million to 33 million for 2025, and the following year also doubling that amount. And this is what we'll be saving about 2,000 tons of fruit for that initial step. But yes, we can do better than 10% utilization. Hopefully, with this pilot program, we can move next. I'd like to hand it over to my colleague Fiaz to talk a little bit about his own solution.
All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. So as a supply chain optimization manager in this project, I will be discussing one of the technical solutions that is called biodegradable modified atmosphere packaging films. So before going into the detail of how the production process will look like, how it will impact the numbers, how it will bring in efficiency, let's take a deep dive into the history that how we came up with the solution. So based on a research published in Polymers by the University of Kentucky, agricultural waste like banana stems can be used as a potential source of cellulose films while enhancing the food preservation. So the study demonstrates that these films offer excellent moisture and oxygen barrier properties, making them ideal for perishable food packaging. So this innovative approach aligns with similar research happening worldwide. Even in China, companies are exploring the use of bamboo and sugarcane waste for biodegradable packaging. So why not Dole? So why? Because Dole has a distinct competitive advantage by sourcing banana stems directly from their own farms. Many farms in Peru, Mexico, everywhere. So this internal sourcing eliminates the need to acquire raw materials externally, reducing both costs and environmental impact that we will be discussing later in the presentation. So let's move to the production process of how this process works. So as you can see on the bottom left side, there's a picture of the banana tree, right? As you can see, once the bananas are harvested, there is a stem that is currently being used as a fertilizer to the soil, but that is something that we can use as a raw material to make these films. So as you can see, the second process is we're going to use these stems, dissolve them in an ionic liquid, and then following another process of casting and drying, we'll be having our film because the base material is the cellulose that we'll be producing from the stems. And once we have that the film, we will be moving with an application trial for the suitability with our packaging. So moving on. So this is where we discuss our execution plan. What we want to do is that we will be sending an R&D team that will be equipped with their latest knowledge in sustainable materials to the University of Kentucky to get more knowledge on the kind of research it was and what is the best method for extracting and processing cellulose from the banana stems waste for maximum yield, right? That is what we are tapping into. And during that R&D cycle, as you can see, we will also focus on building the supply chain network necessary to support large-scale production of the biomap films. This is a very important step in the supply chain. And our idea to build that kind of network is that with a similar existing supplier for corrugated cartons that is already supplying cartons in the Costa Rica farm where we have our production facility for bananas. And this will ensure that all processes are aligned for smooth integration once the pilot begins. So our initial pilot will be launched in Costa Rica, where banana stem fibers will be processed into biodegradable MAP films. And if successful, we will expand this to other Dole production sites worldwide in Ecuador, Peru, Mexico, wherever we have our plants. So let's move. Once that is done, as you can see, it is aligned with our objective achievement that we need to achieve zero fossil fuel-based plastic packaging by 2025. We are targeting implementation by June 2025 for banana and mangoes and for all fruits by December 2025. And following this solution, we will have an extended shelf life increase by 2 to 3 times, sorry. Moving on to the next slide. All right, let's go into the exciting stuff. This is the financials, and I'll be talking about why it makes sense. As you can see, the budget that we require is around $380,000. And we have a payback period on that of only 1.5 years, as this project is designed to deliver a rapid return on investment, make it financially feasible and attractive. As you can see, the breakdown there is around a portion that will be invested in the R&D and training, and there would be a second portion that will be in the equipment and pilot production. So the investment in pilot production and equipment set the foundation for reliable production. This ensures scalability if the trial improves successfully, and the remaining ones, as you can see. So let's move on to the kind of value this investment is going to generate. There will be an increase of 2 to 3 times shelf life. There would be savings of around 4 to 5 million, and this number is based on the 30% share of the tropical fruits that we currently have in the revenue category of Dole Foods. This is based on the 10K report. And the packaging cost that we're going to save is 20 to 30%. This is based on the raw material cost in packaging. Generally, it is 20 to 30%. And as you can see, following this solution, our key points based on the value recognition that Dole wants is that it is aligned with SDG 12 qualification. It is going to increase the sustainability sourcing KPI. It is going to generate more consumer trust. And it is, as I've mentioned before, it is aligned with our biggest objective of zero fossil fuel packaging by 2025. So that's it on this solution. I'll be handing it over to Jay, and he will be discussing, handing it over to Ahmed, and he will be discussing another technical solution on vibration dampening technologies. Over to you, Ahmed.
Thank you so much, Fiaz. As the Global Sustainability Manager, our next part of the technical solution that we have to resolve the issue of sustainability and to achieve Dole's targets is in the form of a vibration dampening technology. And essentially, we will be minimizing damage and reducing waste during transit. This solution stems from a study published by Clopot in 2019. And the main bread and butter of that study was that over 50% of perishable cargo damage is due to inadequate packaging, stacking, and preparation, which exposes the cargo to mechanical impacts during transit. And that is a leading cause of spoilage, especially in cold chain logistics and perishable items logistics. And we are proposing a solution in which we have an enhanced pallet design which has vibration dampening capabilities, which will essentially protect the fragile produce from damage and reduce food losses. So going into the solution, Dole currently uses wooden and plastic pallets to ship its cargo from the warehouse to the customer's warehouse or distribution centers. And our solution focuses on implementing sorbothane PSA vibration isolation mounts to each of the 4 corners of a pallet, whether it be plastic or wooden. And this particular material gives us 3 distinct advantages. Number 1, it can absorb up to 95.5% of impact energy and also reform to its original shape. And this material is particularly ideal for cold chain logistics, as the adhesive used is temperature and chemical resistant. And it can be easily implemented into the current design of our pallets, whether they be wooden or plastic. This is some of the financials based on our idea. As you can see on the bottom left corner, these are the assumptions that we took for our calculations based on 20 feet and 40 feet container, which have around 20 to 25,000 loading capacity, and we will be installing 4 pallets per container, 4 mounts per container, and the total annual cost for 4 mounts per pallet would be 100,000 to 120,000. This is again based on the assumption of 500 annual shipments, and the real figure could be much more than this. This will translate essentially into 3 key areas of savings, which are derived from, as you can see on your right, repair cost reduction for the pallets that are used, food waste reduction. This is the cargo that we are essentially trying to save, and which will ultimately translate into increased sales from extended shelf life. And the figures for this is 30 to 40% for repair cost reduction, 30% for food waste reduction, and 10% for shelf life extension. And at the end of the day, as you compare the total annual savings with the total cost, you have a positive ROA, and you will be basically targeting 3 main SDGs, which is SDG 2, SDG 12, and SDG 13. Over to you, Jayant.
You have 1 minute left. You're muted.
Jayant.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll continue. Thank you, Amar, for explaining about the vibration dampening technology. As the partner relations and incentive program manager, I'll explain the strategy for the smart incentive program. First, we're on the inefficient supply chain performance side, as stated in this case. So we have to be on the other side of enhanced operation efficiency and reducing waste. We want to bridge this gap. To accomplish this, we need to introduce targeted incentive programs aimed at improving efficiency and engaging key stakeholders throughout the supply chain. The examples are shown below. So starting with the roadmap, what we have to do first is necessary with our incentive goals. So we define them first. They are shown across the supply chain. Next is to set waste reduction target. What you don't measure, we can't improve. After, for instance, within the supply chain distribution, we can provide incentives for transportation and mitigating storage risk. These incentives would be performance and value based. Track the key performance indicators like spoilage rates. Deliver in the promise. This goes as far as third-party value chain and network. And then last, as far as I can see, we can conduct performance reviews. Conclusion. As Vincent van Gogh said, great things are not done by impulse, but by a series of small things brought together. We cover not just for Dole, but entire perishable product supply chain. We believe that this will be the start to greater development in the future. Project Maple Guard marks a significant leap towards sustainability in the fresh produce supply chain. By addressing food waste and promoting circular economy practices, Dole is redefining responsible production and consumption in alignment with global sustainability goals. So we suggest solutions like upcycling, biodegradable, modified atmosphere packaging films, and vibration dampening technology, which can save 300K annually for Dole. Thank you.
Okay, our time is up. So thank you very much for that presentation. We're going to go directly into the questions and answers period. We'll start with Dr. Wang Wei. Dr. Wang, do you have some questions for the team?
Wow, it's a really interesting case study with several different solutions and combined with a great solution for to reduce the food waste and resources saving and even carbon emission. And well, because you have different different individual solution among your total solution for the upcycling and how to say the vibration and the damping. And do you have done any risk or problems evaluation among your solutions? And which one? I mean, for your different, for example, the smart, the vibration and the upcycling, have you done evaluate the risk or problem if you apply this kind of a solution? And which one would be the top priority for you to do first? I mean, yeah. Okay.
All right, Ahmad, if you can go to slide 24, we've done a risk analysis and a risk mitigation chart. It's in no way exhaustible. There are a lot of risks that we can find within this program. For the upcycling part of it, we have raw material shortage. What happens when we finish using all of our excess obsolete inventory? How do we combat that? We have to diversify suppliers. So all of these people within our supply chain, we have to ask them if you have more waste, and we'll be able to use it for our processes. And so it's a global goal for everybody, not just for Dole, and that will help us solve that problem. We also have issues of supply chain disruption that could happen anytime, like the damage of the Baltimore Bridge or some pandemic that might happen. And yes, to cater for that, we have to use some resilient tools to be able to forecast and also strengthen our relationship with people within both domestic and international frame. The list goes on and on. So we've created the risk. We've tried to map it out into our severity and found solutions to it. Again, these are just single item solutions that could go way more than this, but we are quite resilient to handling it. And Fiaz, if you want to say something about which of the plans we find most important, please go accordingly.
Yes. Thank you so much. So I'll be adding on to adding on to the feedback that Wang just shared, that we have multiple solutions, but this intent came from the understanding that the supply chain network that Dole currently has is vast, right? It's a global network. So only one solution cannot be enough to make sure the kind of challenge they are facing and to resolve it. So we had to come up with upstream solutions, then the ones that they're facing within their production facilities, and the one downstream. Like you say, upstream solution would be the one that we are giving to the kombucha, right? And the production facility, the packaging that they can use is the one that they can produce from the banana stems. And to the downstream is our pelletized solution, because there is a lot of waste that is coming out to be while handling that product, while delivering downstream to the customers. So that is why there are multiple solutions on the table. So we can cover the whole cycle within the supply chain. That's it from my end.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So basically what you're saying is that there's not a priority order, but you think that this is like a complete solution applying to different parts of the supply chain.
Yes.
But each one has its own individuals, and I will talk about each one and maybe a question for each one of them. On the first solution, upcycling, have you taken into account the investment, the initial upfront investment you would have to do to expand to the new products, such as setting up new manufacturing facilities, more marketing, things like that when you're calculating the ROI?
Yes, we took into consideration for that. If you can get to Akmal, if you can go to the areas of cost estimate, we took that into consideration. We're looking at an initial investment of about $1.7 million dollars, because we're not quite aware of the exact capacity in terms of damages that fruit portfolio that Dole handles for each sector. Some of those information was not open to us, but from those that implemented and started this same process, we took cue from them, especially making reference to the US market. So we're doing an initial investment of about $1.7 million to be able to meet up with the revenue projection that we stated, and also for the forecast for 2025 and also 2030. And we are tying this, next slide, page 10, we are tying this to this cost numbers that we, next slide, not this one. Yes, we're tying it to this cost number, telling that we have factored all of those key points or key metrics for implementing upcycling. Raw materials, we've said we should be able, with our current infrastructure, be able to meet up per liter of about 30 cents. And if we're going for the conventional bottle of 450 ml, we can go for 14 cents. That's good economy of scale. The fermentation and processing and handling, which is conversion of all of these fruits into usable puree or paste, because of also our economy of scale, we should be able to subsidize that and get a competitive advantage. Now, while we said no priority, like Fia has mentioned, for packaging, as soon as we can get feedback on how to best use those packaging film on a larger scale, we will also be subsidized on that overall cost. So this number is a little bit subjective to us. More data becomes available to us, but we are hopeful to share this information and also our knowledge to Dole to expand this fully. Marketing and branding, Dole has an excellent presence in the market, and if you add the twist of sustainability, that the labeling is well stated out, that we are an eco-friendly, doing something for the planet, and it's towards sustainability, it would be accepted. This is the growing trend, and we've seen in our marketing data from what we got from the IBIS World and all other research banks as well, just to be brief.
Okay. So now going again, basically the same question for the packaging, because I looked at numbers that you put is $380,000 for an initial startup cost, and I find that to be extremely low. So can you explain how you can start up a this packaging or this biomap film manufacturing for $380,000? You couldn't even buy a small house with that.
Yeah, you're right. So I'll take that question. Very good question, by the way. I was even reluctant, and I even expecting that kind of question in the presentation. But yeah, based on the assumptions that we are pretty confident that this is the right amount of investment that we need. Why it makes sense. See, this is why the statement comes in. We are providing a solution that will be compliant within the current supply chain ecosystem. So we have one supplier that already has investment, already has a recycling plant, and already making corrugation packaging for us for the Costa Rica plant, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to just use the stems and send them to that supplier, and that stems will be recycled within that facility, and that supplier from the cellulose can make the sheet and send it back to us. So that is the feasibility that will be checked while we will be leading our execution plan. And the investment that we are talking about right here is basically mostly going to the trial plan that we need to run. R&D study, then equipment and supply chain, if there is any such investment required with the supplier, and to build that network from sending those stems from the farms till the supplier. And then scale up planning would just be the time of the employees that they will be investing it. So the team of 2 to 3 people will be invested for this project from the R&D.
Okay, so I understand that it is not actually Dole making the packaging. You are asking a contractor or a supplier to use your raw material instead of purchasing from somewhere else and then pack it. Now, would that increase the cost of the packaging?
No. So coming back to the question, so there is one saying that we have within supply chain that do what you do best and pass the remaining things to the suppliers, right? So this is what we are going to do. The packaging making is not a specialty that Dole has, so definitely the packaging supplier can do it better. We can definitely provide the raw material. And the raw material that we will be providing to them is almost 30% of the total cost for the packaging materials, right? So that is where the major savings is coming from. So 4 million to 5 million is based on the tropical fruits that we are currently wasting, right? So that number will be increased, because this packaging is giving us better 2 to 3 times shelf life, right? So one saving and the savings that you're currently generating on the packaging cost that you're receiving from your supplier. So there would be 2 heads.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. I guess the last one is on the vibration dampening. You mentioned that 50% of the damage is from in transit is due to vibration or impact damage. Where did you find that data? Because I have not seen that data before, that is 50%, as high as 50% due to physical damage.
Okay, so this study that I have mentioned here, CLAWPOD 2019, this data is based on that study. And this study was conducted in Europe. And basically, it was tested for perishable food items specifically. And
Did you remember exactly what fruit? Because again, 50% seems extremely high.
So yes. So basically, it was fresh produce. The exact fruit or a number of fruits that were mentioned, I cannot remember right now. But it was across not just fruits, it was vegetables, it was other kinds of produce which are common to food logistics. And I'll be happy to share the full case study with the panel after the presentation. But essentially, this study, on the basis of this study, this solution that we're proposing is being used by Coca-Cola and Pfizer in the US in their pallet designs. So this sorbitane PSA material is proven. Even if we don't go by this 50%, on my third slide, in which I have the major cost reductions, you can see that this 30 to 40% number, this 30% food waste reduction, this is tried and tested from the numbers we got from Coca-Cola and Pfizer after they had implemented this solution in some parts of their downstream logistics.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for the presentation and the answers to our questions. Thank you, Dr. Wang Wei, for being on this call. Our results will be announced on December 20th, so best of luck to you all, and good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jess. Have a great one.
Bye.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Mm.